Welcome to Timesink, the weekly podcast to let you know what's worth sinking your time into. I'm your host, Sauce, and this week I am joined by Mr. Hummer.
I'm happy that you could finally make some time to sink into our conversation.
You're welcome.
Sick burn.
And Brad.
Hey guys, good to see you both. You guys want to hear how I'd introduce myself if I was like a late 2000s YouTube vlogger?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. What's up? It's your boy, MC Don't Be Gentile, aka YB Rad, when you could be Radley.
Wah, 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 wah.
That's that bit for you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take my Oscar now. Not an Academy Award. I just will take a guy named Oscar and feed him and grow him.
That's all we got time for you guys this week. Thanks for tuning in.
So many jokes.
We can't top that.
We got to quit while we're ahead. Tune in next week.
We got a
nothing
great
to sink your time into. There's nothing. Everything's a one. The world is ending.
We got a great episode for you this week. We're back after a 2-week hiatus.
I love
Some
that
of
word.
us.
I love that word, hiatus. That's all I have to say about that.
Oh, okay. It is good. It's fun. Do you want to say it? Go ahead.
We're back from a 2-week hiatus because we were high on ATIS. That's what that means, right?
It's they hate us because they ate us.
What?
We're back. We got a great episode for you this week. This week, we're going to talk about insert content here.
please leave that as the intro.
Okay.
Like what they don't need to know. They'll figure it out as they go out through the episode. Just figure it out, people. God.
I mean, we shouldn't bury the lead. All right. We just don't bury the lead. Let's get right into it. Snyder Cut.
Snyder Cut. Yeah.
Snyder
we
Cut.
have not had a chance to talk about
The worst movie of 2021.
Oh my God.
Just kidding, guys. It was awesome.
I will fight you right now. Over a DC movie, I will fight you.
Well, are you talking about the Snyder Cut or are you talking about the black and white Snyder Cut?
Listen, I can't watch the black and white Snyder Cut. That's,
like, why? Why is there a black and white Snyder Cut?
I had to adjust to the fact that they were doing a 4:3 aspect ratio. Like, it took me about halfway through the movie before I was like, I guess I'm okay with this. Even though it was such a dumb thing to be like not okay with. And his reason for doing it was fine.
Perfect. What was the reason for doing it? That's what I don't
because
like.
You want to know. It's because of how superheroes are framed better in flight, and there's so much vertical and downward motion, including the way what's his name would swing his axe in a downward motion, so you get better framing of those situations, which is one of the 10 reasons Zack Snyder said that he was doing it in a 4:3 aspect ratio.
Which is interesting because Superman doesn't show up flying until about 3 hours into the movie.
But when he does a lot of flying.
We're going to make you suffer for this many hours in 4:3 aspect ratio.
Yeah, it's a Justice League movie, but they're finally all teaming up, and we don't get Superman for 3 hours.
Yeah, I guess you should just start with like what it is for our listeners. Go ahead and get into what is the Snyder Cut.
So originally, Zack Snyder was the creator of the Man of Steel, the Superman movie that was pretty darn good. And then, Warner Brothers got Zack Snyder to start developing their Justice League, their DC hero universe. So he created Batman versus Superman, which got horrible reactions. People did not like that. I still think it's terrible.
Did he actually direct that one, or was he producing that one?
He directed that one for sure.
Because I know he was just producing Aquaman. He didn't direct Aquaman.
Correct.
He kind of was becoming the like Kevin Feige-ish of the DC universe a little bit.
Yeah, but Kevin Feige doesn't direct, and that's obviously working. But so he had to leave, halfway through filming Justice League.
Not even halfway through.
like he helped develop it and then got most of it ready, but when it came time to the filming, Joss Whedon had to step in and try to salvage and shorten Zack Snyder's vision. But Zack Snyder was the person that had the vision over whether you think it was bad or good, over the whole where it was going and the development and the character and the story arcs. So Joss Whedon came in and just trying to do his thing, turned it into a truncated, not really making a lot of sense comedy, like trying to kind of do what Marvel's doing, but it just did not work. So the 2-hour theatrical cut was not, it was awful. So finally the fans got what they wanted. They got the original director to come back and finish his vision. And then he really went off the rails, because I really doubt his original vision was 4 hours, and he just loaded everything in there.
I actually wouldn't put it past him.
And they gave him an extra $70 million budget to do it. Massive reshoots, massive CGI re-rendering. I mean, they fleshed out all of this exposition that was so missing from the original 2017 Justice Cut. I mean, the Flash turned into his character was 30 times better. Cyborg was 10,000 times better. Like, his whole story went from being like trash to absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cyborg's kind of the almost the main character. Like,
I would say
the focus of the story.
He is the focus when it comes down to it. He's definitely the focus of the last 3 acts. Because there's,
he's the one that they only go really into his backstory. It's like they were introducing him for the first time. All the other characters you're kind of assume that you're supposed to know, which is ironic, because isn't this also the first appearance of Aquaman?
Yeah, and the Flash.
And the Flash.
We got that one really great scene with Flash with the girl in the car accident. Like, that was all excellent and gave you a lot of exposition for Flash, I thought. And they really cut down on his
autism.
Yeah.
Because in the theatrical cut, he came off just like he was at some sort of social
like he was
disorder.
On the spectrum. Yeah, for sure. And they cut all of that. He felt like he was still moving and thinking faster than everybody, but he still felt normal, I guess. And normal's not a good word, because we're talking the spectrum. It was so much better done for his character. There was so much justification for every action that was taken by each character because the exposition we got. Some of the really bad scenes were cut, like the Russian family.
Oh
nonsense.
God! Yeah, that whole last act.
Flash went from in the last act saving one family to saving the entire fucking game.
Yeah.
So that was huge. And we saw more Martian Manhunter too. Even though it felt like forced a little bit, we still saw more. Like, that whole scene between Lois and Clark's mom turned into a completely different thing with the reveal of Martian Manhunter. So, just in every sense, this movie became a banger. It was that good. And I was so glad, because you saw it before I did. And you even kind of set my expectations low. So I'm wishing we weren't saying how great it was. Because I was kind of expecting to like it more, but not that much. And I made the mistake of starting it at midnight. So I was finally done with it around 4:30, 4:45 in the morning. And then I was so jacked that I was might as well watch the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier as well.
I quite literally started it, I think, at 9:00 at night on a Wednesday. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to bed 3 hours in and wake up, and I'm going to watch it again tomorrow.
I don't know how you did it.
That's how you know it was good, because I wanted to watch it again.
I couldn't stop it.
I was just tired.
I had to.
I watched it on my iPad, so the aspect ratio is actually perfect, because it was the same as my iPad. I didn't even I watched.
How old is your iPad?
It's the 12.9 inch iPad, the Pro. I didn't realize until, because the last hour I watched at home, and then I got the black bars on the side. I was like, wait a minute, I forgot. But you know what? this movie really goes to show how important it is to actually put some thought and development into the villain. Because not only did he get more lines, he got more of a reason, justification for what he's doing, more compelling, almost sympathetic in a way, instead of just, I'm going to take over the world. What I really...
I found myself rooting for him.
And he wasn't randomly talking to 3 boxes that weren't talking back to him.
That was stupid.
He was actually communicating with people.
Did you guys notice this? So they gave him human-like eyes so that he could emote better and you could relate to him better. And, you know, he became instantly more compelling just by that CGI alone. But in contrast to that, at the end of the movie, when he's clearly the bad guy and they're going to kill him, you can't sympathize with him. So they give him that glow and that power from the mother boxes. So his eyes, the whole third act, are just glowing blue. So they take away that like humanity aspect, which was really cool.
I mean, they also remodulated the voice, and the voice acting sounded better, because I thought the first time through in the 2017 version, he sounded, not only did he look terrible, he sounded terrible. And so, like, in every aspect, he was improved. And then the scenes that Darkseid was supposed to be in rather than him became 30 times better because Darkseid was in it, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The battle, the Darkseid battle, way better. That Zeus that they got, total stud.
You would not shut up about how hot you thought that Zeus guy was.
That's just
like, seriously, I got like 6 messages. I'm like, why is Zeus so hot? What's happening to me?
I'm sorry. He looks like a ripped Hummer. Okay.
Damn, I got some goals now.
You want to be the object of Sauce's desire by looking like Zeus?
Honestly, what I learned is in that scene in Themyscira with the Amazonians is when Steppenwolf gets mobbed by 20 Amazonians. That's how I want to go.
When they show you they don't have fear.
I do think with this like movie in general, with how good this version is, I do think it illustrates like how much of the rest of the universe also kind of takes a big swing and miss. Because like I watched this one and I've said this before, I'm not the biggest of the DC movie guys. And so I was like, oh, this is cool. I really want to go back and watch and rewatch and really pay attention to some of these other films. And it's like, all right. So I watched Man of Steel. Awesome. I loved it. And then I went to rewatch like Aquaman, and I'm like, okay, Aquaman is a movie. It's almost like it's good because of the Zoolander factor. Like it's almost so bad that it's good. Like, you know what I mean? Like you guys are talking about how much they redid the CGI. They redid all the stuff for the Snyder Cut. And then you go and you watch Aquaman. It's like, all right, what the heck is these third graders doing with this art that they're doing here? Yeah. At times it just looks so Bush League. And it's like you missed out on such a great opportunity to have some like really good continuity with the story. Like when, I can't remember her name now. The
Amber Heard?
Amber Heard. When the first time she pops up in Aquaman, you're just like, it's like, oh, it's a very, very quick. Just you again, like, you know, like, oh, all right, that's it. You're not gonna address anything. Okay, moving on. You know, and then like you see him like going to the place where it's like his dad was or whatever in the throne room, and you're seeing like the actual like outline of the trident, and it's like, wait, we haven't actually been introduced to this yet, and you're bringing it up in the Snyder Cut. Well,
they actually gave him the trident instead of him just randomly showing up with it out of nowhere, which is what happened in the 2017 version. He just fucking had it. Whereas in this one, Willem Dafoe kind of comes up and says, "It's your responsibility," which is my impression of Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin.
You choose, Aquaman.
You choose, Aquaman.
But even like that part of the story is like weird because he like doesn't he have the trident the whole time in Aquaman? Like, isn't that something he just has?
I honestly don't remember. I saw it once and I'm good on never watching it again.
But casting Jason Momoa as Aquaman
made him badass.
Genius.
Yeah, made him badass.
The Snyder Cut really shows off how perfectly casted like everyone like what's her name? Like, why can't Gal Gadot.
Gadot.
Amazing Wonder Woman. Ben Affleck's Batman is awesome. Henry Cavill's a perfect Superman. Flash is
who's hotter?
Cyborg was great.
Who's hotter, Henry Cavill or Zeus?
Henry Cavill's got a much hairier chest.
I'm gonna go with probably Zeus.
All right. You heard it first, folks.
Look, nobody looks better than Henry Cavill though in Man of Steel when he's like shirtless, sitting in that oil rig. I can appreciate a strong male archetype. Okay.
So you like a nice sculpted rear end. That's what you like when he's holding it up, back arched, rear end is being flexed.
No, he likes the wide shoulders, hairy chest, because I once listened to Henry Cavill talk in a interview about before he does shirtless scenes, he has to dehydrate himself in order for his skin to be tighter. So that's how you show up your veins and stuff. So he has a 4-day process before they shoot a shirtless scene where he has to drink less and less water. And on the day before shooting, the 24 hours beforehand, he can't drink water or eat anything. So his skin is as tight as possible. So he likes that. That's what Sauce is into.
That sounds awful.
Tight skin and broad shoulders. Yeah. That's why we're not superhero actors, because we can't commit to shit like that.
Only reason.
The only reason. Or else we'd be there. You'd be the first Mexican Dr. Doom.
Oh my God. Dr. Doom would be my dream role. If I could be cast outside my race and play Dr. Doom, that would be my dream. Oh, stud Dr. Doom that's ripped and doesn't wear his chest plate because he's so ripped.
But still gets to drop all those mega nerd dimes that he drops throughout the comics.
Yeah, obviously. So what were we talking about?
I guess I think one of the cool things about the Snyder Cut is that for being a 4-hour movie, I never really thought it was dragging on.
Never, not once. Maybe at the scene break, at the act breaks a little bit, but that was the point. They're act breaks. So you literally could watch this movie in 5 acts if you wanted to.
Now is a good time to get up and use the restroom.
Was it 5 or was it 6? I don't remember.
It was 5. With the 6th is an epilogue. So yeah. But one thing I didn't like, I'm just not a big fan of Zack Snyder's music choices typically in his movies. So the soundtrack was meh. There was a second I thought they weren't going to use the awesome Wonder Woman music during her scene, and I was getting pissed because I was like, that's the best music. But luckily they still used it.
I did think the soundtrack was better than the 2017 one, though. It fit more, I thought.
I think the soundtrack for the theatrical cut is more just orchestrated,
epic orchestrated
sounds,
stuff. Yeah,
where this is actual songs with super on the nose lyrics, with zero imagination, But that's I don't know. I don't. I'm not a big fan of that genre of music, so maybe that's just my personal opinion. But nobody in Man of Steel.
Your personal opinion is just wrong.
Yeah, that's what it is. But the way Superman fights in Man of Steel is exactly how I would picture comic book super powered people fighting, and that translates into the movie because the action scenes Zack Snyder gets superhero fights how they would move.
No remorse for collateral damage though. None. Every building destroyed, every fucking thousands of people died in those battles for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that a lot because you don't really want to live in a universe where superheroes live. They're seriously responsible for the death of at least 1 billion people by now. That's not even including Thanos with his snap, the actual superheroes kill billions and billions of people every year with their reckless destruction. And the collateral damage, maybe you're better off just letting the world die.
Or for sure, don't live in Metropolis or New York.
Go live in the suburbs. All right, live in the suburbs. Don't live in a city. Don't live in New York, Hong Kong. Don't live there.
Says the guy moving to New York.
Bring it on.
Although I miss New York, I love that city. So
you got to worry about the big 3: aliens, wizards and cyborgs.
Yeah, bring them all on.
Solid Falcon and Winter Soldier reference.
I mean,
Yeah.
overall though, like I feel like this Justice League is.
So can we give the Snyder Cut a 5 and then?
I don't know if you can give it a 5 because there's going to be.
Would.
I mean, I think you still have to enjoy the superhero genre, and like I'd say at least a 4, but a 5 is a tough one for me just because it is 4 hours long. You do have to commit some time to it, and if you don't like superhero movies, you're definitely not going to like this.
I think if you haven't already watched it by now, like it's a 5 for you. You would have watched it right now. Like any hardcore comic book fan or DC fan for sure has already watched it, right? So if you're like not that type of person and you're still deciding, you're just a casual, you should watch it. It's a really good superhero movie. It's definitely up there compared to any Marvel movie. I mean, it's not better than like any of the Avengers. Well, maybe it's better than Age of Ultron, probably.
It's better than the like back end of the Marvel catalog, like the Thor 2 of the world.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4 though. If you haven't seen it already, because anybody who would think it's a 5 has already seen it for sure.
It's a great intro into the DC universe, in my opinion, because like I said, I wasn't really big into it. I watched a couple of them, just didn't get into it. I watched this, and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So I think it was a very good intro. If you haven't started picking up the DC, just go ahead and start with this. Like,
although this is the end of it because they're redoing.
No, I mean, like, but you can start with this.
They're redoing everything.
Missing it. You're not
new
missing
Batman,
anything.
New Superman.
I heard or I read somewhere that HBO is trying to buy Warner Brothers, or not Warner Brothers, trying to buy the like rights to Justice League, Zack Snyder's Snyderverse to try to like make it on their own, which would be amazing.
That would be, yeah.
Yeah, so that's this. What'd you give it, Brad? What do you give it?
I say it's a 5.
Straight 5.
I think it's worth taking the time to watch above like deciding to watch something else. Maybe something you've seen 100 times before, or even just something that you're like not too excited about seeing. I think that Justice League jumps the queue, so it should be something you watch. And that makes sense. So I definitely think it's worthy of a low end 5.
Makes a lot of sense. So Hummer, in the non superhero world of things, what did you want to share with us this week?
So I watched a movie called I Care a Lot.
I want to know about. I keep seeing it.
Is this the Paul Rudd movie?
This is not the Paul Rudd movie. This is the Rosamund Pike and Peter Dinklage.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about. Okay.
And it's I Care a Lot. It's one of those. You know how Netflix is churning out content constantly now. They're just trying to make 1,000 movies in 100 days. Something ridiculous like that. Well, this is one of those movies, and surprisingly, I liked it a lot. It is very cringeworthy at the same time. Because
what's it about?
It's loosely based. I don't say loosely because I don't know if it's loosely or if it's very, very true, but it's based off like true stories, not like any particular story in general. So the characters are like completely fictional, but it's basically about a scheme where a crooked legal guardian goes around and drains elderly citizens of their that she is given to as wards of the state, and she drains their bank accounts. And then she basically finds a woman who she goes to swindle, and she's swindling the wrong person to swindle. And so it takes you down this kind of like rabbit hole of all the different legal maneuvers that like over the top legal maneuvers that these people will actually do. And it's like fascinating because you can actually see like in a sense how this stuff could happen. And then it is actually kind of scary that it does actually happen. Like the people like her do in this character do exist, and she's just honestly from a casting perspective, it doesn't get much better. If you remember the movie with Ben Affleck and Rosamund Pike was Gone Girl.
Yeah, great movie.
I also just rewatched Jack Reacher, and she's in that too.
Like she plays this like basically this person who's like psychotic, just but like cunning, like you know what I mean. Like she's so cunning, but she's just so evil at the same time. And you see, like, and it's just she's perfect for that role. Peter Dinklage was also very good in his role, basically playing the role of like a mafia type boss. And it's a good movie. I would definitely, if you haven't seen Snyder Cut, watch that first. But if you're not into superheroes, you could go ahead and put I Care a Lot up there. I think it's worth a solid 3. It's worth some time. It's worth time checking out. Whenever you get a hot minute, it's a good flick.
Did you watch it with the missus?
Yes.
Did it lead to extracurricular activities?
Jesus.
No.
Well, that's like Homer's thing.
That's his thing.
That should be like a supplement to every review. It's like, will this lead to baby making?
This one will not lead to baby making. This one will make you call your grandma and make sure you tell her like, don't answer your
don't answer your phone. Don't answer the door. Don't answer your phone. Trust no one.
Like, all right, so there's these YouTube videos going around. And I don't know the guy's name, but basically, it's the guy who does the glitter bombs.
Yeah.
So he did one where basically this group in India goes around and they call hundreds and thousands of elderly, or what they hopefully are like they think are elderly people, and they convince them to send them cash to Airbnbs, and he follows them around. And it's like this movie like tugs at those kind of heartstrings because it's like, all right, they literally are attacking people. Like they look for the profile of what they look for basically is elderly people who have little to no family. You know, husband or wife has died, and like they get in cahoots with the doctor's offices and this stuff. Like I said, it was based off of like true stories, not a true story of legal guardians and elder financial abuse. So I liked it. I thought it's eye opening, and it'll definitely make you want to call your grandma and be like, Grandma, just trust me. Like, just don't let anybody. Just call me first. All right. No matter what, if they tell you you can't call me.
Aw. All right. That we for sure though we gotta add your extra segment there to every review.
This one will not lead to baby making. So if you are not in the mood to have a second, third, fourth child, watch this movie. It will do the exact opposite.
Perfect. So, Brad, you had a couple things you wanted to talk about this week.
Yeah, I wanted to hit a couple quick things before I talk about the movie. I wanted to make sure I told you guys. First, I haven't talked about a video game in a while. So I wanted to just drop some info on, because I know you guys are off of it, but I've still been playing Cyberpunk. We just had a huge patch come out for Cyberpunk.
The irony.
I know I'm having streaming issues too. I know I'm having issues, so it's like it's terrible that that's happening, and I'm trying to talk about Cyberpunk. So huge patch out for 1.2 patch. Yeah. Okay. I hate all of that. I hate every second of what's happening.
Bro, you got to get that preem internet. What is it?
All
My
right.
schlipschlap?
I do want to hear about this patch update though.
So I'm sorry that I'm having issues with my stream. Anyways, so the 1.2 update came out. It was delayed due to Project Red being cyber hacked, and somebody threatened to sell all of their information, and they said, "Fine, go ahead, we don't care." And it just kind of delayed some stuff, and I don't even hear what happened with all that. I think I heard somebody bought it, but I don't know the truth behind that, or what even they would have to do. It sounded stupid to me. But anyways, so they released this patch, and if you look at the patch notes, it's like it's ridiculous how much stuff they added. On my crap internet, it took literally all day to update. It was a 40 gig update. So, but I hopped into Cyberpunk after it was finished because I kind of wanted to see They fixed a lot of stuff, a lot of features that weren't being used properly before. They fixed some stuff with some crafting and some frame rates. And I think if you've been waiting to jump into the game in order for all this stuff to be fixed, now's a good time to jump into it. There are definitely still problems. There are still bugs, things to work out. But if you want to start now, I think now is a really good time because there's I've had no crashing issues. I've had less and less data issues with things happening randomly and things being stuck on the screen. Lots of visuals have been improved. They did a lot of work through this patch. So as somebody who still really enjoyed the game, it's cool to see them still working on it and being fervently working on it. And it's resulted in all the DLC upcoming over the next plotted couple years, all going to be free for us. So it's a really cool thing they're doing for the fan base for how much. I mean, this game won more awards before release than any video game ever, and then proceeded to win 0 awards post-release. So it will go down in history as the most disappointing video game of all time, unless somebody comes out and does that. But that being said, like, I think it's so sad to think of the game that way, because I think the gameplay, when it works, is really fun. There's so many different ways to play the game. There's lots of fun little hidden things you come across, and there's still more to come. The story was entertaining, I thought.
Oh, the story was awesome. I finally finished it. I thought the story was amazing. And
yeah.
The way they did that, there's so
Don't
many.
spoil it.
I'm not gonna spoil it. There's
Yeah.
so many different ways you can make it end, and it's more than almost any, I think, like that style of game I've played in a long time. And honestly, like, I can imagine if you're talking about the patch they did for this, because they did a patch, I think, for the PC and for the Series X.
This is 1.2.
Yeah, and those platforms are almost, I want to say they're almost bug-less in a sense that, you know.
I've still seen some big ones, but like there are signs in Night City that just say debug instead of Night City.
Really?
Yeah.
That's bad.
There are still times if you try to load multiple vehicles, they'll all like crash and frame rate and explode. And there's still the T-pose there's still problems, but they aren't causing as much gameplay issue. And then some of the features that just were not working work now.
And which platform are you on?
I'm on the Xbox One.
Yeah, because I was playing on the One X, and I never had any bugs. It crashed, and it was weird because I would play, and I usually trying to stop playing at like 11:30 to get ready to go to bed, and it always crashed at 11:30. So I was like, "Oh, perfect, time to go to bed."
It knew.
But other than that, I didn't have any. I never experienced any bugs or weird issues at all. I just stopped playing because I just got bored with the gameplay, because I still had the same gun that I found at the beginning and had no reason to switch off of that. And like,
they've done a much better job with that. They've improved crafting as well. So crafting is much more feasible. It's easier to do. It's more accessible. It's easier to upgrade weapons and clothing.
That's good, because I literally put all of my points when I first spec'd my character into crafting and never used it.
I did it on my first character too, and it was just like trash. But I have it on my next character now, and like I'm getting to use it a fair amount, so it's been really good. And I've been able to upgrade the like legendary the iconic weapons that you get. Like I have a pistol that has an AI interface that'll just randomly pop off at times because it's like, I want to shoot something, and it just decides to shoot. It's funny as shit. I got it through one of the Cyber Psycho missions, and like, I don't know, man, the city's really cool. There's a lot of cool elements, and like it's supposedly still going to tie into their Witcher universe, because it's going to be, you know, the encapsulation of all of these universes they want to create. So like there's still so much cool stuff that could go on with Cyberpunk. One of the DLCs, we're going to go to space. We know that already. So I'm definitely still excited for that. So I still think there's a lot to look forward to. So, I know it was bad, and I know there was a lot of really negative things to say about it and to still say about it. But I think the groundwork is there, and I think this could really be a fun game for the next couple years as they continue to improve it.
Well, that's the thing. Like it from all the bad reviews it gets, I think most of those users are coming from the last gen platforms. The new gen, this was a game designed on a PC to be played on PC first, but that's probably their first issue, is that they went that route. But then, you hear after the first patches came out that the Series X was fine, the Series S was fine. And I'm looking forward to the DLC. And the only thing that I'm pissed off about is I finished the game, and not that this isn't really a spoiler, but you get to a part where you basically have to make a choice if you want to go explore Night City some more, maybe level up some more, or do you want to go on and complete the main story? So I did that. I completed the main story, and then I got back on the elevator to do it again on accident. And so now I'm stuck having to go through and finish the main story for like hours of gameplay. And I'm like, son of a bitch, I just want to go explore Night City.
That's why you have multiple saves, dumb.
I did, and now all my saves are past the elevator.
Oh no.
That's great.
Do you guys do
I'm
what
so
I
happy.
do? Because I got to the this is called, when you're playing a game, you get to the point of no return, right?
Right.
You're either gonna
Yes.
complete the game or do stuff. I always get to the point of no return, and then I do every other mission, and then I finish the game. So that's where I'm at. But then I never went back and finished any missions because
Yeah,
This is-
usually I do that, or at least I create a save point. I usually create a save point right at the point of no return. And if I'm ready to play that mission instead of go do all the side quests, I'll do that instead and then go back with that save. So I always have that point right before the point of return that you can continue to explore.
Yeah, I fucked up.
so
It's
what else
kind
you
of
got
like
for us, Brad?
it's kind of like in Fallout
Yeah.
New Vegas when you go into the cave, go into the vault.
Oh yeah, I haven't thought about that in forever.
Yeah, I don't remember.
If
I
you
don't
go
know.
into the
Good
vault,
callback, though.
you get locked into the vault and the game ends.
Oh,
Yeah, it just ends the game for you. It's like it's not a bug. It's on purpose. If you
Yeah.
go into the vault, it ends the game for
the
you.
one that you come out of? Is it the one you come out of?
No.
Oh, I don't know.
No, it's one of the other vaults. Anyways, so I wanted to hit another quick thing. So if you've listened to our podcast before, you've already known that the highest 5 I have given on our show is for a podcast called Dungeons and Daddies. It is arguably the funniest thing I've come across in the last decade. Every time I listen, I am laughing. You get to that point where you're laughing so hard you have to hit like the chair or the desk or something because you're like that's the reaction that comes across with laughter.
Yes.
Every episode I'm there at some point. Like Sauce, did you listen to the stretch goal that they just put out on Sunday, the Star Wars stretch goal?
I'm like 30 minutes in.
Oh, it's so good. It's so funny. I'm so happy to get that today. But so I wanted to make sure I reviewed something that is coming out from somebody from that podcast. Beth May, who's one of the hosts on that podcast, is very funny. I recently put out a book of poetry called The Immortal Soul Salvage Yard that I wanted to make sure I talked about a little bit because I'm reading through it and I'm really enjoying it. I have not read poetry in a long time. So honestly, I haven't really read a book in quite a while too, but trying to get into poetry again was definitely a strange, like new medium for me personally, just because it's been so long. And most of the poetry I've gotten over the years has been stuff that I've heard reciprocated through the author. So you still get to really hear it in the voice or in the timbre, I guess, of the author. So reading poetry that's like, because this is extremely personal poetry. It's very much in a journal or diary-esque format, and a lot of it is really honest and personable. So it's definitely something that the main reason you're getting into reading this book is because you're a fan of Beth May. Like, it's really hard for me to recommend it to everybody, because if you don't know who Beth May is, you probably aren't that interested in knowing more about her. But if you are, this is honestly, reading through it, I don't know if I could be this honest about myself and my life experience on page. Like if somebody told me to write a poem about myself, it would probably be a made up story about me fighting a bear.
Your poem
some
would be
sort of abusive. Yeah, and it would be not about an abusive relationship with my father or an ex-boyfriend, like some of these are. So, like, I got to give her a lot of kudos for being able to be this honest on page for absolute strangers, just anybody who's out there reading the book. I think the content is excellent. So if we rated content, I would give it a much higher rating. But since we're rating whether it's not to sink your time into it, I'm only going to give it a 2 bridging on a 3. Whereas if you're a fan of Dungeons and Daddies and a fan of Beth May, I think it's a 3 bridging on a 4, because I think it's a really nice insight to get into somebody who, if you're listening to the podcast, you probably enjoy as a person. And it's really nice to get more introspective on a person you enjoy. Yeah. And I think that's really valuable. Like I know Anthony Birch recently did a Joker graphic novel co-written with somebody else. So I definitely have that on my list. That's something I want to do too. But I'm only really getting into these because I'm interested in them and their work. Like I'm trying to find an outlet to watch Video Game High School because I want to watch the work that they've done previous. But that's what listening to Dungeons and Daddies has done. I'm so interested in them and their work that I want to experience all of their other works and know more about them and their process, because since they've created something that I think is one of the best things I've come across in the last decade, I have so much respect for them and their process, and I am fans of them, and I want to know everything, all of their work, and I have tons of respect for them, and I'm so intrigued by what they do because I think they're incredibly talented. Like,
I also agree, like, with everything you say about Dungeons and Daddies, because when somebody asks me like, hey, what podcast should I listen to? I don't tell them this podcast. I don't tell them our podcast. I tell them Dungeons and Daddies because it's just so funny. And it's so good.
It's literally one of the first things I recommend.
And the production value is 10 times better.
Wait, you guys aren't shamelessly self-promoting the way I am?
No, I do that. I do that too. But
I'm like, you should watch us then.
I say
then Dungeons.
I do that after. I have. That's the rating.
I've watched Beth May's some of her spoken word videos that are online, and the only reason I didn't get the Immortal Soul Salvage Yard, because I also support them too, and I support their Patreon because all their content's amazing. The only reason I didn't is because when she seemed like I'm too ignorant when it comes to spoken word and poetry, and from what I've seen, it seems like I see what you're saying. It's obviously it's her story, it's her perspective, but it seems like a very female. Like I think the one that I saw, she was talking about her getting her first period, and like that's just not something I can relate to as a stupid man. Like, but I did want to. I really wanted to get it and read it. It's just I've never read poetry before, so I didn't know if I should do that.
I'd say I'd lend it to you, but I don't remember who it was in my life that told me that there's no such thing as lending books. You just don't lend out books. Like you either give someone a book and never expect to get it back, or you say go get the book your fucking self.
Is that your theory on my PlayStation games you borrowed, or am I never getting those back?
I'm done with the Spider-Man games. You can have those back. I have not been able to get as much into The Last of Us as I hoped I would, but I'm trying.
It gets there.
Yeah. So, so I definitely wanted to make sure I hit that, especially because I know we review lots of movies and TV shows and video games, but I definitely think there are other outlets of media that we could touch on sometimes. Like I was going to make a music recommendation, but I think I want to keep moving along. So I wanted to get into this movie that I watched because it's been in my queue for a little bit. It was a 2020 release on Netflix called The Lovebirds. And the reason this movie was on my radar was because of the 2 stars of the movie. I think there are 2 people that are in the next year or 2 are going to be, if they're not already household names for you, they're going to be. And those are Kumail Nanjiani and Issa Rae. Kumail Nanjiani is about to have his blow up because of everything he's doing with Disney. He recently he's doing the Eternals right now. I saw his name in some other cast. I think it was that
Star
new
Wars.
Amazon. Yeah, Star Wars. And I think I saw his name in the cast list of that new Amazon superhero
Invincible?
cartoon, Invincible. So I think I saw him in that too. But he is like, I'm telling, like, I've known about him for a long time because I'm into stand up, but I think that the household name hasn't happened for him yet, even though he's hosted Saturday Night Live and done some things, and you've probably seen him, but you might not know his name. But he's about to have a Chris Pratt level blow up, in my opinion. I think that's where we're headed with Kumail. He's extremely talented, and I'm so grateful that he's getting that chance, and I think he's going to crush it. And then Issa Rae has been definitely somebody who's been growing the last couple of years. She hosted Saturday Night Live this season, the greatest episode, but Saturday Night Live has not been that great this season. Like, we can be honest about that, right?
Yeah, it hasn't.
But she's done.
If Eddie Murphy's not in it,
I'm
I'm not on it.
She's done she has been like producing and then doing a couple of comedies here and there. I think Little was one of them, and then maybe Insecure Producer, maybe. I don't remember, but she is another name that's really up and coming. So I wanted to watch this kind of comedy that was directed by Michael Showalter, which is another name you probably know.
Good stuff.
He's done. So this was a very much romantic comedy. It starts off with a couple, and you get introduced on their like first date, and you get out their first like love situations, and it kind of glosses over that pretty quickly. And then it becomes a murder mystery because in their moment of breaking up, they basically witness a murder and get framed for it. So they decide to try to solve the murder themselves because they're both people of color, and assume that the police will just instantly frame them for the murder because they're people of color. And it's funny because they do have a moment later on where they're interacting with the police where I don't want to spoil it, but that idea becomes hilarious in a later moment. They end up uncovering some funny things and go through kind of a saga a little bit. It moved pretty quick. It had some pretty funny moments. I wouldn't say it was overall like extremely memorable. But again, I really plugged into this to catch into two actors that I think are going to be huge over the next couple of years. And it's always fun to see some of their earlier works, in my opinion. It's hard to even say early works because they've both been around for a while, but neither of them have had their big blow up, but they're about to. So
I feel like Kumail has had, like, when he made his movie The Big Sick, like that was pretty huge for him.
The Big Sick, yeah, I mean, I definitely think that did well for him, and he like has become bigger, but I wouldn't say he's household. I still think
Just
the main
'cause
people
he's
know him
got
from
an
the
ethnic name, and it's harder for people.
100% true, 100%. I mean, that's definitely washing a little bit away. Not a lot, but a little bit. I mean, we are progressing in that way. But
Biden is president. Kumail would not be blowing up if
another
Trump was
white
still
guy in
president.
the president. Another white guy in office. But anyways, the movie was good. It wasn't great. I really enjoyed watching it. It had some pretty funny moments. There was a barnyard scene where they're being interrogated, and they have to choose whether they want a skillet full of bacon grease to the face or getting kicked by a horse. I don't want to spoil what happens in the scene, but it was very funny. And then they meet some college kids, and it was pretty funny. They end up in like a sex cult at one point, and they're doing commentary on watching an orgy. That's really funny. But so I'd give the movie a 3. It's definitely something worth putting in your queue and watching if you don't have anything else. And then again, introduce yourself more to Kumail Nanjiani and Issa Rae, because they're people you're going to see doing big projects over the next couple of years. So you'll be rewarded by seeing them in this stuff like this when they're doing big things. When people are like, "Oh, I saw that one movie with that, what's her name?" You'll be able to say, Issa Rae, Kumail Nanjiani. Name drop them, and then you'll look as cool as I do.
Are you giving it a 3 because it's just not that funny or
No. I'm giving it a 3 because of how worth your time it is. Because I think it's something that it's worth putting in your queue. And then when you're in that moment looking for something to watch, this is like, oh, instead of looking for something for 2 hours, I have this movie in my queue. I'll watch it.
But why? I'm just trying to figure out.
That's what I think a 3 really is.
Sure, but I'm just trying to figure out why is it's not higher.
Oh, I mean, because it was just it was very predictable first. It was funny, but it wasn't like, I'm not here quoting it. I think really fun, really memorable comedies are very quotable usually. It definitely wasn't. I think it's a comedy that'll. Like, it didn't take a lot of chances, maybe, so it might age well. Production was decent enough. It wasn't anything that, like, I think it was like blow you away type. It's not something that like you need to seek out. I just think if you're trying to introduce yourself to actors who are going to be really big over the next couple of years, and you want to watch a nice romantic comedy, something that's kind of easy to watch, this is a really great example of that. That's my argument.
Okay. Yeah, I just needed a little bit more clarification.
You need more clarification?
No, needed.
Oh.
Which you gave.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I am having streaming issues, so
yeah,
I have all sorts of problems. I'm sorry for your editing.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. This is the part of the show where Hummer disappears for 20 minutes.
UCLA is about to go to the Final Four.
Isn't this? He's not even paying attention.
You guys this is dragging on, and we got the Final Four. They're up by 1 with 6 seconds left.
Thanks for fucking saying my review was dragging on. I really appreciate that.
It's only dragging on because the game's going on.
Why don't you talk about some technical specs of an NVIDIA card again? You fuck. We'll see how much people like that shit.
And that's why Kumail is a household name.
Dude, I don't agree with he's going to be a household name. I just can't take him serious as a superhero.
He's going to crush in the Eternals. I think between him and the guy whose name I can't remember who plays Rob Stark, I think they're going to be the two big breakouts.
Something Madden. Rob Madden?
Richard Madden. Richard. I think those are the two that are going to... Although, the director was talking about... one of the females in it, the director was like praising at some point.
Angelina Jolie? Selma Hayek?
No.
I don't remember who the other female.
It was one of the lesser known ones.
Mm. So,
but anyways,
since you're opening the before we sign off here, since you're opening the door to
open the door.
Other
the door
forms
is
of media.
opening.
There's somebody at the door. There's somebody at the door. Yeah, Matt Berry and the IT crowd, amazing, genius. But just a little teaser. I've been looking for like different sci-fi universes to get into, or like books to read, because I was like, I kind of want like a thriller, but like maybe like a murder mystery. But like, if it doesn't have some sort of basis in like not reality, I kind of lose interest. But I stumbled across the universe that there's so many books, and there's such like a fleshed out world that I'm so happy I found all these books. But the Warhammer 40K universe, it's humanity 40,000 years from now in the future, where the whole universe is at war, and the man is fighting aliens and fighting demons and fighting themselves, is amazing. And there's so many books. I just read basically what is the Band of Brothers but of space, and it's so good. And
in space
now I'm reading basically the Jack Reacher but in outer space. That's why I just rewatched the movie, and I'm very excited for all this treasure trove of books I have access to.
Nice.
But I am gonna add I think I'm gonna, now that you have read it, I'm gonna add Immortal Soul Salvage Yard.
I mean, if you really want to borrow my copy, I probably can let you borrow it when I'm done. but I will want it back. Because not to say it's a coffee table book, because it's a little like you don't want the wrong person reading it. But I think it's nice to have something along this line in your collection. Like I know, like I said, I haven't read poetry in a long time. I think the last poetry I probably read was like something like Robert Frost or Emerson or something like that. Maybe even Shakespeare. But
I just
really think it's a cool thing to have on your shelf.
I don't get poetry if it doesn't rhyme.
Yeah, and that's the other thing.
It doesn't make sense to me.
That's the other thing about hearing it in the actual poet's voice, like getting them to read it or seeing the like spoken word videos, because you're assuming you're assuming how it goes, you know? So like you're putting it in your own voice, but when it's something this personal, whereas like when you read Frost and he's just like describing nature, you know, it's much different because you're hearing somebody else's voice in your voice. So it comes across different. But then again, when things click and you relate to stuff, like there are some moments where I like put the book down and I was like, oh, woof. Like just like stuff just hit me, whether I related to it or whether like I could imagine somebody relating to it. It was like, there was one that about like a hypothetical way of thinking about a relationship before entering a relationship that I was just like, oh, like just hit for me. And again, there's a lot of real honesty in it. And I definitely appreciate that because I think it's super hard to be that honest with yourself and with anyone. Oh.
Well, with Brad's spit take, that's all we got time for you this week.
Bro. That was real. And since I got a new camera, it's in high fucking def. Before, if I did something like that, nobody saw it.
I can't deal with Brad's cutting out anymore. So make sure you head to check us out on your favorite platform, timesinkpod.com. We're available on wherever you like to watch or listen to your stuff, and all of our social medias are there. If you're feeling frisky, you can watch Cherry by the Russo brothers, and you can see my small my small background role as an extra. I didn't watch the movie because it got such bad reviews. I'm going to watch it eventually, but you will see me in the background at the end of the movie, so that's exciting. And thanks for sticking around, and we will see you guys next week.
You just edit me out the whole episode, huh? How about that?
Oh, I gotta edit out Hummer too because he's not even paying attention the last half.
It got really intense with this UCLA game.